Hello everyone. My name is Rachel Langston and I'm an owner and craft educator here at Oak and Lamb. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use heat transfer vinyl, or sometimes called iron-on. There is a lot to go over when using this material. It is very different than how to use its counterpart, which is regular adhesive vinyl. So if you're a Cricut beginner or you know someone who is, send them this video. This could help them tremendously in their Cricut journey. As we all know, we can have a lot of project fails when we're just getting started, especially if we're not properly educated on how to use a material. The downside about your Cricut and about a lot of these materials is that they don't really come with instruction manuals. It's kind of hoped that you would already know what you're doing when you purchase the material. Because that's just not realistic, Oak and Lamb is here to help and make sure that you guys are confident, well-rounded crafters in whatever craft area you're passionate about. And today, that craft area is using heat transfer vinyl. First, I want to mention, if you are a little bit more unfamiliar with heat transfer vinyl, the difference between this vinyl and regular adhesive vinyl and things like that, I do have a great video about the vinyl types and differences and how to know them apart. So if you have trouble telling them apart, if you've bought a lot of them, or you're just a Cricut beginner and you want to gain all the knowledge you can before using these materials, go you, number one. And number two, I will link a video up here above me as well as in the description below, so you guys can click and watch that if you're a little bit confused about the differences of vinyl. So today we're going to be using HTV, which stands for heat transfer vinyl, and it's often referred to as iron-on because iron-on is the term for HTV that Cricut as a company has adopted for their HTV. So you'll hear it called HTV, heat transfer vinyl, or iron-on. So that's what we're going to be using today. We do have a lot of supplies. These will all be linked below, so you guys can click and check these out on Amazon. The biggest supply we're going to need is, of course, our Cricut. Now, if you have any other type of electronic die cutting machine, you can use it with this material. If you have a Brother Scan and Cut, a Silhouette Cameo, whatever you have, you can totally use it. But today we're using our Cricut Maker 3. And then we'll go ahead and flip to the overhead camera and share with you all the other supplies that are much easier to see close up. And here is the iron-on we're going to be using. This is Caesar Easy Weed. This is a very, very good brand of iron-on. This is our favorite brand that we have tried of iron-on. We love to get them in these big bulk rolls like you see here. This is available from 143vinyl.com. We'll go ahead and link the brand down below and this great bulk roll. Again, great brand. It cuts really well, it weeds really well, it transfers fantastic. We have no complaints on this brand. It's fantastic. A brand of HTV we don't particularly like is Cricut, and I wanted to tell you that in this video because a lot of people think, well, my Cricut machine is Cricut brand, so why wouldn't I use the same brand of materials? We don't particularly love their materials. Their regular adhesive vinyl and their iron-on are not our favorite formula. We find them a little bit hard to work with. The usability is a little bit off for us, just in our opinion. So if you're a beginner and you're looking for a really good brand of HTV, we recommend this one. Now, if you love color, we always have bulk rolls of black and white and have other sheets of colors for us ready to go. But if you love color and you want to try out the colors on 143 vinyl, there is a bulk multi-pack of 12 by 12 sheets of this that you can purchase to kind of try out different colors and see which ones you like. There are also some really fun color swatch rings that you can get at 143 vinyl, and they have all of the colors of HTV, little swatches of all of them. We love having the color swatches here in the studio for us to be able to see these. We're like, okay, I see these. I love all these colors. Let me see. It's springtime, so let me find a good spring pink. This is beautiful. If you flip it over, it has the name. It's Caesar Easy Weed in the color Flamingo. It's just so handy. So these are all the color options. You can buy the swatch rings, or you can just buy a color pack of these to get some 12 by 12 sheets. But you will need HTV. Now, again, if you watch that video about the difference between HTV and adhesive vinyl, it's a great video. It kind of goes over a couple of things that we'll also go over in this video, which is that heat transfer vinyl comes with its own built-in transfer sheet. This is why you will pay more for it. Whenever you use regular adhesive vinyl, you have to have a third-party brand or third-party type of transfer tape. But with this, with HTV, with most all HTVs, it is built in. So there is a very, very shiny side, which you can see right here, and then there is a duller side. You will have to place this on your cutting mat, shiny side down, or transfer tape side down. Transfer tape, transfer paper, transfer sheet. They're all kind of interchangeable words here. So if you hear me kind of switch out that verbiage, transfer sheet, transfer tape, it's all kind of the same. So you will place this shiny side or transfer side down because you don't want to cut through that. You don't want to be cutting through your transfer because this is what's going to help you place your project onto your blank, which again, if you don't know, blank is the term referred to any item you're placing your vinyl onto. Today, that's going to be a onesie. So we will be placing this shiny side down on our mat, and because we have to do that, if you think logically about it, if you place regular adhesive vinyl down, the vinyl's facing you, you cut it, you weed it, done. This vinyl, we're placing kind of the opposite. We're flipping it. So if we just allow the Cricut to go through and cut this out, it's going to cut it out backwards. After we weed it and peel it up, it will be backwards. So you have to mirror or flip every image that you use in Design Space when working with HTV. I know it can seem daunting. It'll all make sense. I wanted to give you a little bit of a crash course here. So it comes with built-in transfer tape. You do have to mirror your image for most HTVs. And also, it'll cost more. HTV will always cost more than regular adhesive vinyl because it has that built-in transfer sheet. It's always worth it. And like I said, 143 Vinyl does have a really great price on that. Next, let's talk about the blank we're using, which is a little onesie. How stinking cute. So we're going to be placing a black HTV design on this onesie, a really simple one layer. We can go into other, dive deeper into other types of materials later. We have some really great videos on printable HTV and things like that, which you can get really creative with. But today we're just going to do one simple layer of iron-on just to dip your toes in and get you guys comfortable with the process. So we have a little onesie here that is 0 to 3 months. We got this at Hobby Lobby for very cheap. It says $4.99, but I'm pretty sure it was even cheaper than that. Now, for our iron-on, we're using a mat. These are our favorite mats ever. This is the Nikapa brand mat. Cricut mats are fine. They're just so overly expensive, and these are fantastic. For like a 12 pack on Amazon, you can get this for 12 bucks for 3 of them. You honestly cannot beat it for the price and the quality. It's fantastic. So this is the type of mat that we recommend. So this is what we're using as a standard grit mat. You can use a new light grit mat, which is the blue mats, or a gently to well-loved standard grit mat. This one still has some tack to it, but it's going to work really well for us. You don't want a mat that's not sticky enough, and you don't want a mat that's too sticky, because both of those can hinder your project from being a full success. So we have our mat. And then for tools, it's pretty minimal today actually. We have our brayer, a weeder tool, our true control knife, and a measuring tape. Now the brayer is what we're going to be using to place our vinyl down on our mat, making sure it's good and secured. The weeding tool, this is our favorite hook weeder tool. It's fantastic. It's from Amazon. We find that the Cricut ones, the very tip bends and breaks a little bit. So we found these on Amazon and we do adore them. The Cricut True Control Knife is an absolute game changer of a product. It is fantastic. It's not like any other X-Acto knife we've ever used. You can unlock it and press this little button here, easily remove the blade. I mean, it's so effortless and so well designed. We love the Cricut True Control Knife. If you don't have one in your craft space, you're missing out. So the weeder tool, of course, we're going to be weeding with. The True Control Knife we're going to be using to trim away the excess vinyl off of our mat. And the measuring tape is maybe, arguably, one of the most important things about this project. Since a onesie is a little bit more of a harder item to place your blank in Design Space, you want to make sure you're measuring it as much as you can, as accurately as you can, so you know it will fit well onto your onesie. Now, we're going to have a couple tricks, tips and tricks for you to make sure you size it properly, but a measuring tape is an absolute must-have in your craft space when working with HTV and regular vinyl. Now, because we're using HTV, which is heat transfer vinyl, you need something with heat to transfer. So we're going to be using our mini Easy Press. This is arguably our favorite Easy Press here at Oak and Lamb. We only have the mini and then the 10 by 12, which is the largest one that Cricut makes. And we mostly reach for this one. We do have a heat press, which we've been using for sublimation because it is more handy for sublimation to have a larger heat plate. But for most heat transfer vinyl projects, we love the Easy Press Mini. Now, for beginners, I also would recommend it. It can seem a little bit more complicated because it doesn't have a timer and things like that. But the more you use it, the more you'll fall in love with it. And of course, we have to argue, a lot of people don't have space in their craft room for something like this, and we totally understand, or excuse me, they don't have room in their craft room for something big, so it's much better to get something like this that is super small. So we understand that a lot of people have limited craft space. So we absolutely love the ease of use and the portability and how small this Cricut Mini Easy Press is. So if you're in the market for an Easy Press, please use this. I know we're going to get questions on this as well. We do not recommend using a household iron for HTV. These heat plates, not just this little one, but all of the ones on the market, the ones that Cricut makes and everything like that, that is specially designed for heat transfer vinyl. The heat plate is very evenly distributed with the heat. It is designed to be even, to heat your project evenly. Irons have very sporadic distributed heat. It's just not as good, if we're being honest, to use this versus your household iron. Your HTV is not going to stick well. It might stick and look stuck, but it's not going to last very long in the wash. A couple washes and it's going to already start to peel up on you because it has not been heated properly with the precise amount of heat. It's just so hard to gauge their temperatures and how even their heat is on the heat plate. So we always recommend getting a heat press or an Easy Press of some sort. That's just our opinion. Please do some testing yourself if you would like, but this works for us. We also have our Easy Press mat here. Now we have several of these. This one, as you can tell, it's got some staining. It's been through the ringer, but that's good. That just means we have well loved it and used it a lot. Now we love the Cricut Easy Press mats. They're pretty thin, really easy to store. We have this little one and we have the 20 by 16 inch mat. We have two of those actually. We love using those for t-shirts and things. It's ideal for that. But for this little onesie we're using, we broke out our little one. So you can use this for whatever you want. If I was recommending a combination of these, I would recommend the Cricut Mini Easy Press and then the larger Easy Press mat. I just think that that would be a really good combination, just because the Easy Press, while it is small, it is not very limiting. You can use this for HTV from anything to a pair of socks to a 4XL hoodie, blankets and tote bags. I mean, honestly, it is completely limitless what you can use this little mini Easy Press on with HTV. So while you're not limited with that, this little Easy Press mat is a tad small. So if you get the biggest one, you're a lot less limited. So we like the combination of the large Easy Press mat and the Easy Press Mini. Okay, so that's it for supplies. Now I want to go over and share with you guys how we're going to measure this little onesie. So this is a 0 to 3 months onesie. There are some guides online that you can look up that have like recommended sizing for things like this. However, what we're going to do is measure out a square on this, because it's very important, if at all possible, you can take your design and place it, the dimensions of it, accurately in design space. That will give you a really good representation visually on what you can size and where you can size it. Now you do have to know, adult shirts and onesies are very different. A baby is little bitty, okay? Their little body, super tiny. You don't want something super close to the neck. You want something a little bit farther down. So what I'm gonna do is start measuring at the base of the shoulders here. And I have 8 inches there. Now I'm gonna measure down this way from about the middle of the sleeves. And I have 9 inches. So 8 by 9 is about what we have to work with on this. Now you might be saying, oh Rachel, that's a really big design. That is not how big we're gonna be making our design. That is the dimensions of what I like to call our real estate. The dimensions on what we have to work with our blank item. When we put those dimensions into Design Space, we can then take our cut file that we're using and size it appropriately inside those dimensions. So we have 8 inches by 9 inches. Now, if you remember that, keep it fresh in your mind, write it on a sticky note if you forget things a little bit easier. And we're gonna go ahead and head into Design Space, share with you the cut file we're using, and size this properly for our onesie. Okay, here we are in Design Space. And the first thing that we're gonna do to get it out of the way is go over to Basic Shapes. And if you guys are brand new to Cricut, you are brand new to Design Space, we do have some Design Space beginner tutorials. We have some on the difference between group, attach, and weld. We have some on how to save, delete, and organize your cut files, and things like that. So definitely check those videos out. They're super helpful for Cricut beginners. And now we're gonna go ahead and place a square on our canvas here. And we're gonna come up here and unlock the size ratio. In width, we had 8 inches, and at height, we had 9 inches. So this is like the body of our onesie. So this is gonna be super helpful for us. We can actually go ahead and even make it a light gray, just like it is there. So now this is the cut file we're using, and I have already imported it in Design Space. If you do not know how to import cut files, I do have a video on how to import different types of cut files into Design Space. So check that out. That's a very helpful video. We really like to keep our beginner Cricut training short and sweet in a bunch of different videos so that you all aren't overwhelmed. If we went over every single thing in this particular video, you guys would be so overwhelmed. So today we're just talking about the logistics on using HTV. So this is the full cut file. It says Mama's Boy. It has some suspenders and a little bow tie. How stinking cute is this? I just love it. And this would be good to layer with other colors of HTV, or you can also use printable HTV with this. However, again, I do want to let you guys know that'll be for a different video. We do have videos on using printable HTV, so check those out. But we're going to make this one layer, like I said today, and really simplify it. So how you can do that is by going over here to the layers panel and looking at all these layers. Now we have imported an SVG, a scalable vector graphic today, an SVG. It is the most common type of cut files that you all will work with. If you look over here and everything is one layer, there's not little separate layers, that usually means you have imported a PNG, which is a portable network graphic. And that means that you don't have the ability to edit it at all. So if you have an SVG, always go and upload it. It will have, it will allow you to have more freedom when editing and changing things up. So we can see all of our layers here in Design Space, and we don't want this layer. We don't want this layer. We don't want our suspenders, and we don't want our little metal pieces. We just want our Mama's Boy, and we already have one right here. At this point, you can take it, size it up, and if that happens, it kind of goes behind your design, no worries. You can go right up here to Arrange at the top of the Layers panel and click Send to Front. Now, you can size it down a little bit. Our 4 onesies would err on the side of too small rather than too large when it comes to your images. Now, if this was a tote bag or a adult-sized t-shirt, or if this was anything like that, a pillowcase, a canvas pillowcase, whatever you guys want to do, always try and measure and put your blank dimensions into Design Space. It will help you tremendously. So I'm going to err on the side of going a little bit smaller today, and I like this size. And again, we're not being specific on the size because we already have our blank in here perfect. So it's 5.409 by 5.06, and this looks great to me. I think it's going to fit well. It doesn't need to be too big, especially since it's a onesie. So once you like it, your square here was just for purposes of looking at. It was just for visualization purposes. So you can hide this, which hiding is when you click this little eyeball icon here, or you can just delete it because you really don't need it. If you wanted to make another onesie that was 0 to 3 months in the same brand, you can come up here and save your project, but it's really not necessary to do that unless you just want to. So we're going to delete that. And we're ready to go. So we're gonna click Make It, and we're gonna select On the Mat. We always like to use the mat. Now, you remember me saying that heat transfer vinyl comes with its own transfer tape. You have to place it transfer side down, which means you have to mirror your image. So you guys are probably wondering when that comes into play. It comes into play right now. So you can see a preview of what it's going to look like here on the top left corner of our digital mat. And you can see material type is on the mat. Our material size is 12 by 12 inches. That is the size of the mat we're using as well. And this little toggle down here that says mirror, that is what you want to pay attention to. Can you see that right there? Mirror. So we're going to go ahead and turn that toggle on. And I'm going to do it again so that you guys can pay attention over here to the mat. So watch what happens. Mirror's off, it's right side. Mirror on, it flipped. So that is what mirror does for HTV projects. I cannot tell you how many times I have made an HTV project and forgotten to mirror it completely. It's a problem. I totally get it. It's a bit of a learning curve. It's something hard to remember. However, there are things that the Cricut will do, Design Space, to help you not forget to mirror. So we're going to click continue and connect to our maker via USB. And now we're going to click everyday iron on. Now again, iron on is the term that Cricut created for their brand of HTV. They call it iron on. It cuts on the same setting. It cuts really well on the same setting, so don't even worry about that. But the material setting that you will use is everyday iron on. Now, you can see here after the prompt one, it said, make sure mirror is turned on and the iron on material is faced shiny side down. It's super handy that the software will kind of give you tips to make sure that you're doing this correctly. They can be easily ignored, but if you're going slow and you're paying attention, you're really not likely to ignore this. It says no tool required in clamp A. Make sure your fine point blade is in clamp B, and load and press the load unload button when your material is in your mat. So we're going to go through those motions and apply the material down on our mat and share with you that process. Okay, we have our mat here, and I'm going to grab our iron on. Now if you're placing down a sheet of iron on, it's super simple. All you have to do is figure out which is the shinier of the two sides, and there is a clear winner here. So especially in person, if you guys are watching this video and you're like, oh, I'm never gonna know what the actual shiny side is. Yes, you will. Don't get overwhelmed. It's just because the camera is tricking you. This side right here is the shiny side, and this side is the duller side. They are both shiny, but one is significantly shinier than the other one. So once you know which is the shiny side, which is the dull side, place your sheet on, that easy. Now when you're working with these rolls, it can be a little bit trickier, but honestly, this is my favorite way to use them. So I handle them like this, open up my little flap here, and the bottom is the shiny side. So the bottom is the side we're gonna be placing on the mat. So a lot of people wanna take this and place it down and line up the top. Well, the problem is the top of this vinyl, I did not cut perfectly straight. It is kind of at an angle, okay? So what you're gonna do instead is pay attention to this line right here on your mat. You want to make sure that your vinyl is going down perfectly straight on this line, about 2 or 3 inches down. So I'm gonna line it up like that. So don't pay attention to the top line, just pay attention to the side. Now, once you see this is lined up pretty darn good, you can go ahead and roll this out the rest of the way. And honestly, guys, it couldn't be any straighter on this mat. So that is the big tip I have for you guys, is to hold your vinyl rolls and line it up top there. Now, again, sheets are also easier because you just place it on here. But since I don't want to waste all this vinyl, I'm going to refer back to Design Space just to see where my material is on my mat. So my material is at 5.5 inches down and 6 inches over. So I'm gonna give a little more wiggle room than that. I'm going to cut my vinyl at 6 inches by 7 inches. So I'm gonna go down to 6, cut at 6, over. Now I'm gonna go to 7 and cut from 7 down. And all I did was look back at Design Space to my virtual mat that we were looking at earlier, and that's how you can see where your design is. Now you can simply take this, remove it from the mat, roll this back up on your roll here, and place your tape back down, just like that. So now you have your roll ready to go for your next project, and this vinyl down here on our mat. Now, again, it is shiny side down. We have mirrored our image. Now I'm going to take this brayer and roll this vinyl and make sure it's stuck well onto our mat. Now we can go ahead and load this into our Cricut machine. So now you're going to take your mat, load it up in these little grooves here. You can see this little white groove and this little white groove. You load them underneath that. Hold them up against the roller. You will feel some resistance, of course, where you can't push anymore. And hold your mat there, and that is when you will press your load button. And the mat will just kind of go into the machine a little bit. In this point, the Cricut is going to be measuring the mat length to make sure that you have enough material on there. I don't know why it does that. I think it does it for the Explorer 3 and the Maker 3 simply because it's the newer machines and it uses matless cutting and things like that. So once it's measured the mat, you're good to go. It will show you the flashing start button. You can go ahead and press that flashing start button, and your Cricut will cut this out. Now is a very good time to go ahead and turn on and preheat your Easy Press. So we're going to preheat our Easy Press to the second temperature setting. There are 3 temperature settings. I'm going to press it once for the first one, 2 times for the second one, and it is orange right now, and it will go from orange to green whenever it is ready, and also beep at me. So I'm going to go ahead and let that heat up as well while our Cricut is cutting out our material. Now our Cricut is all done. All we have to do is press the flashing unload button, remove our mat from our machine, and now we can start weeding. So the weeding tools you're going to need is this one right here. You can also take your True Control knife, and now I'm going to try and show it in the light to where you all can see it. Okay, you can see it maybe a little bit. But we have our cut lines here all over. If you wanted to take your True Control knife and cut closer to the actual edge of the design, feel free to do that. You don't have to do that because you already cut off most of the excess, but to each their own, whatever you would like to do, that's just an option. And for those of you out there that are probably like, Rachel, oh my gosh, you're cutting on your mat. That must be so dangerous and so hurtful to your mat. It's not. Whenever you get a Cricut True Control knife, or if you use an X-Acto knife or anything like that, once you cut on your mat once or twice, you will understand the amount of pressure you need to put behind your grip on this. So we do not hurt our mat when we do this. Also, we love to weed on the mat this way, or you can flip it if you're worried about really getting your mat dirty. But we like to weed on the mat this way. We find it the most helpful to weed on the mat. It's like a third hand. It holds everything down for us so we don't have to worry about anything. And you might think, well, you're going to dirty the mat, or you're going to have to throw it away and replace it quicker. We urge you not to throw your mats away, but to clean them. We do have a video on the #1 way you all should be cleaning your mats. It is so easy. It'll take you less than 3 minutes to clean your mats, and you can get so much more use out of them. We're talking weeks and weeks of extra use out of your mats if you clean them. So when I'm weeding, of course, I like to use a weeder tool. And one thing you have to make note of, like when you're using regular adhesive vinyl, is there is a transfer under this. Now on adhesive vinyl, it is the backing of it. But here we are going to be making sure not to pull up the transfer sheet. So we're going to give a little bit of pressure, peel up, and you should see a clear sheet still stuck down. So I hope you guys can see that. You can peel this up, and there is still a clear sheet right here that we're leaving down. Now, I usually take my finger and pull along the edges here. I also feel that weeding heat transfer vinyl is much easier than weeding adhesive vinyl, in my opinion. So I just like to go through and weed off the bulk of my project, set it to the side, and now go in and weed the big pieces. I do it one word at a time so I can make sure I'm not missing anything. It's much easier to miss something when you're kind of skipping around on the words and things. And this is a relatively simple design. So now when you have all your pieces out, you can throw this excess vinyl away that you've weeded. And now we're going to pull this up off of our mat. We always flip our mat over onto our work surface and peel up our material from our mat this way. Now, once you've peeled it up, this is what it looks like from your view after you've weeded it. This is also sticky, which I like. It helps to stay on your blank really well. And then if you flip it over, You can see it's perfectly straight mama's boy, and this is how we're going to transfer it by placing it face down like this. So transfer sheets on there. I hope that kind of makes more sense now that you understand the way that HTV works, having to be placed shiny side down and mirrored and all that good stuff. So our easy press is preheated for us. So we're just going to grab our easy press mat right here. I'm going to set this to the side, and our onesie. So stinking cute. Now lay your onesie down on this. It fits absolutely perfectly on here. And I'm going to grab our measuring tape. And now you can take this and place it down. And you do not have to worry about placing this down. I can place this down and pick it up and place it down, pick it up 20,000 times if I want to before I heat this down. Unlike regular adhesive vinyl, I can place this down as often as I want and peel it back up without it hurting my project. When you place adhesive vinyl down, you really have one chance to place it down, and then your sticky's gone. It's not going to stick well. If you peel it up, it might not peel up, but this HTV is very forgiving. So I'm going to place this down just like that. And I love this cut file. I love that it's not like super perfect anyways. So now we're going to measure from the outside of the design to the outside of the onesie. So I'm going to measure the edge of my Y here. It's like 1 1/4. Measure this. More like 1 1/2. So I'm going to scoot it over a little bit. A lot of people would say, Rachel, what if you have wrinkles? Take your easy press and iron it out. Iron out the wrinkles. If there's any moisture in it or anything, this will also get rid of that. So you can iron all that out to have a really nice, smooth surface for you. So just take your time when you're placing it. And again, measure, make sure it's nice and even for sure. Okay. Now, once you have it how you want it, we're going to go ahead and heat this down. So we have it set to the second heat setting, which is around 315 to 330 degrees. If you have any questions about that, there are specific degrees to use with HTV. I think it's about 315. Do whatever you want to do if you have a different heat press, one that has the specific temperature setting on it. But for the mini, which we use mostly, we just have it on the second heat setting. Also, I don't want to worry you and scare you and say that you have to have it the exact degree, no higher, no lower, because it is actually extremely hard to burn HTV. So if you are erring on the side of having your easy press too warm or not warm enough, I would rather it be too warm, because if you don't have your easy press warm enough, it's not going to transfer your design well. Because think of it this way, we have our onesie and we have our HTV. Our onesie is made of a fabric. Our HTV is made from a heat transfer vinyl that needs a good, hot, even distributed amount of heat to transfer. If it is not hot enough, it's just going to kind of melt a little bit and sit right on top of your onesie, and that's it. If you want it to stick well, we want it to be hot enough to where that HTV is going to bind to that fabric and stick for a good long amount of time. So you want your HTV to be stuck down really well. It's very hard to burn this. Even if we had this on the highest heat setting, I still wouldn't be worried about it. It's better than not having it hot enough. Now, as for the amount of time you're going to place this down, I'm going to say around 30 to 45 seconds. You can do more if you want to, that's totally fine. Minimum 30 seconds. I usually do a lot more than that, especially with the Easy Press Mini. I'm looking for some little bubbles, which is actually very satisfying. So I take my little Easy Press off the dock. I always start in the middle and push my way out towards the sides. And it's not going to transfer on camera. I really wish it would, but the more you use HTV, the more you'll become familiar with the bubbles that you will see on your transfer coming up. And what that means is that you are doing your job correctly and that the HTV is coming away from the transfer sheet and sticking onto your onesie. You'll know you're going to have a good, successful project. So just keep going, starting in the center, pushing your way out, not neglecting any areas. This little mini Easy Press is double ceramic coated on the heat plate, which allows it to glide easy over your projects because that is what it is intended to do. If you're using a larger Easy Press, you will simply set it down, click the button to time down your timer, and hold it there and give some good pressure. With the mini Easy Press, you move it around, and I personally love to be able to see my design adhere well with those bubbles. I like the mini Easy Press and moving it around. Even if there's no set timer on it, I feel like I can always have a good successful project with this. So I see my bubbles. That is a really great sign. I'm just making sure not to neglect any of these little areas here. Moving around my entire design. You can move around slow or fast. And once I think I have everything nice and heated up and transferred well, I'm going to place my Easy Press back on its little dock there. Now we're going to do what's called a warm peel. We're not going to start peeling this off right now. The adhesive is so hot bonded to that fabric. If we peel it off now, it is so hot it hasn't had time to cool onto that fabric that we could just rip it all up and have some adhesive left on there. You also might not want to do a cold peel because it can be a little bit more hard to get all the pieces off. We're trying to meet in the middle and do a warm peel where the HTV has had some time to bond and cool down with our shirt and not enough time to where it's going to be super hard to remove that transfer. So you can just feel around on it. You don't want it to be burning your hand or anything, so I'm going to give it a couple more seconds to cool down. You can take it off and shake it at this point. I mean, really, whatever you want to do. This is stuck down really beautifully. So I'm going to move it around, shake it a little bit, get it to cool down a little faster if you're impatient like me. And this is wonderful. So we're going to start with our warm peel. You want to go super, super, super slow. I'm going to start in the corner, pull back, and you can see it's removing just perfectly. Now, if this wasn't the case, all you have to do is remove your hand. That transfer sheet's going to flip right back in place. Get your Easy Press, work in the areas that's coming up on you. You'll see it peel. So you'll see your HTV not stick down in a spot. That's how you know you need to hit it, which we say hit it, meaning you need to apply heat to it for a longer amount of time. Now peel this off. Look around, feel it with your hands. If you feel anything that wants to come up on you, save the transfer, place the transfer back down, and go ahead and use your mini Easy Press to get in those areas. But this transferred beautifully. It looks fantastic. So now I'm going to turn this off, click it twice. Now let's talk about how you would care for this. Rule of thumb when using HTV is number one, pre-wash your fabrics. If you're using a shirt that's 100% cotton or even a mostly cotton poly blend shirt, I would wash it. You don't want to place this on a 100% cotton t-shirt before it's washed because your shirt is going to shrink in the wash, especially if you dry it, and so will your HTV. It'll crinkle up and crumple up and look very unprofessional and basically have a little project fail there. So always pre-wash your materials that are a high cotton content. Always wash with cold water with a mild detergent. If you can, wash them inside out. So if you take this off your little baby, flip it inside out and throw it in the wash that way. It just adds a little layer of protection. Air dry, hang dry is the best option. But if you want to put this in the dryer, low heat is best for this. Now, that being said, it's going to last a good long time if you take care of it. So if you take care of the shirt, it will take care of you. And again, with this being a onesie, you're probably not going to be using it that often because your little 0 to 3 month baby will grow out of it soon enough, which is both heartbreaking and exciting. So that is how you use HTV with a fabric like this. What did you all think of this adorable little onesie? I love the way it turned out, and I love all the tips and tricks we were able to share with you on how to use heat transfer vinyl. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when more amazing videos like this come out. Also, leave us a comment down below and let me know what your very first project is going to be using HTV. If you love the way that we teach and what we teach, you would love to become a member of our flock. Click the very first link below to see exactly what you're missing in our membership. We not only teach on Cricut, but we have lots of training on Glowforge, sublimation, woodworking, sewing, and more. We love to make confident, well-rounded crafters out of each and every one of you, no matter what area of crafting you're passionate about. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I will see you another day for another video.